happens to millions of us every single night. It is 3 in the morning. The house is dead silent. You are exhausted, yet your eyes snap open. Your heart rate elevates slightly. You stare into the darkness, completely awake, feeling an overwhelming sense of anxiety. You think your body is failing you. You think you have insomnia, but your body isn't broken. Your brain is not malfunctioning. What you are experiencing is not a disorder at all. Your brain is actually executing an ancient survival sequence, a biological rhythm that kept our ancestors alive for over 2 million years. Today, we view the night as a time for peaceful rest. But for 99.9% of human history, the night was a time of absolute terror, brutal survival, and a bizarre, fractured sleep schedule that modern society has completely forgotten. This is the dark, hidden history of what our ancestors actually did at night and why your brain refuses to let it go. To understand why you wake up in the middle of the night, we have to travel back far beyond the invention of the light bulb. Before candles, before written language, and before the mastery of fire itself. For millions of years, early hominids like Australopithecus and early Homo erectus lived in a world where human beings were emphatically not the apex predators. We were the prey. Evolution did not grant us the tools to conquer the dark. We lacked the tapetum lucidum, the reflective layer in the eyes that allows cats, wolves, and large predators to see perfectly in the dark. Once the sun went down, our ancestors experienced a darkness so thick and absolute it was suffocating. Every single night ended with compression, absolute stillness, and a desperate waiting for dawn. If you moved, you died. If you made a sound, you were hunted. In this brutal era, sleep was not a luxury. It was a series of light, fragmented naps, constantly interrupted by surges of adrenaline at the sound of a snapping branch. For millions of years, absolute terror was the defining characteristic of the human night. But roughly 400,000 to 1 million years ago, a technological shift occurred that completely re-engineered the architecture of the human brain. We captured fire. The campfire was the most important technology in human history. It did far more than cook our food and keep us from freezing during deadly winters. It created a physical, impenetrable barrier that predators feared. For the first time in the history of our species, humans could relax after the sun went down. Exposure to this artificial light actually changed our biology. The light of the fire altered our circadian rhythms, extending the human waking day to 16 hours. This 30-foot circle of light gave birth to human society as we know it. The night transformed from a time of terror into a time of tool repair, deep socialization, and the invention of storytelling. But even with the safety of the fire, they did not sleep like we do today. If you brought an ancient ancestor into the modern world and told them to sleep for 8 unbroken hours, they would think you were completely insane. Up until the Industrial Revolution, humans practiced what science calls biphasic, or segmented sleep. Extensive historical records and anthropological studies prove that our ancestors naturally slept in 2 distinct phases. The first sleep began shortly after dusk and lasted until around midnight, and then an incredible biological trigger would activate. They would naturally wake up. This period, lasting for 1 to 2 hours in the middle of the night, was known historically as the watch. It was a deeply ingrained biological rhythm, documented in cultures across the globe, from Europe to Africa to South America. During the watch, people didn't toss and turn with anxiety like we do today. They used this time. They stoked the fire. They prayed. They meditated. They analyzed their dreams, or they simply enjoyed the quietest moments of their existence without the stress of the daylight world. It was a sacred, quiet window of consciousness in the middle of the darkness. Only after an hour or 2 of peaceful wakefulness would they return to their beds for the second sleep, resting soundly until the morning sun. So, what happened to the watch? We industrialized it out of existence. Beginning in the 18th century, the explosion of artificial lighting, gas lamps, and eventually electricity allowed us to conquer the night. We pushed our bedtimes later and later, forcing our bodies to compress our natural 2-phase sleep cycle into a single, unnatural 8-hour block. We erased millions of years of evolution in a matter of decades. But in the 1990s, scientists conducted a groundbreaking experiment. They removed all artificial light from subjects' lives for several weeks, plunging them into 14 hours of darkness each night. The result? Every single person's brain naturally reverted back to the ancient biphasic sleep schedule. They slept, woke up for an hour of peaceful reflection, and went back to sleep. Which brings us back to you, staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. The anxiety you feel isn't because you are failing at sleeping. It's because you are fighting millions of years of hardwired biology. Your brain isn't malfunctioning. It is simply remembering the campfire. It is waiting for the watch. If you want to understand what else your modern life is hiding from your ancient brain, you need to see how our ancestors survived deadly freezing winters before the invention of shelter. That incredible story is right here. Never fear the dark. The wind died down, and then, nothing. No insects, no birds, just the sound of heavy breathing right behind us.